can be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks, I'm Matt.
Play ball.
Hey, play ball indeed. As the title suggests here, we're doing a book review. Not Star Wars, not superhero. We're going back to the old baseball because we can't get away from it because we both love baseball. But I will say, my brother gave me a belated birthday gift, and the book was called The Wax Pack. Looking at the cover, I knew exactly what, I knew exactly what it was kind of focused on because it looks just like a 1986 pack of baseball cards. Just it was same font and everything on how they wrote things. And what I really loved, how'd you like that cover? Feels like it's
Very
wax.
textured.
It's a wax cover.
Yeah.
So to make it feel like a pack of baseball cards that you used to open as a kid. The only thing missing, and I kind of wish, they should have scented the pages as gum.
Not even gum. They just need to smell more baseball card.
Baseball cardy. Oh, the old cardboard smell. The old card. Oh, that'd have been nice. And you can do that these days.
You can do everything.
You can scent those pages. But maybe even just maybe a picture of gum, or maybe just a receipt. Say, hey, here's $1 off some Big League Chew. Treat yourself.
Well, if it's Big League Chew, it's got to be grape.
Not necessarily. I like the original. You're a great man.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I didn't think anybody was anything but a great man when it came to Big League Chew.
No, the OG flavor is good enough for me. I have some downstairs, I think. I may have it upstairs. Maybe in my backpack over there.
It could be anywhere here.
I'm going to get some Big League Chew in a minute. But if it's in there, I'm getting it. But anyway, so I read this, and I thought it was excellent. And someone who I know would appreciate it would be you. And I gave it to you, and you just finished it, and now I can't pronounce the author's name there, but are you ready for me to butcher it?
Well, I know it starts with Brad.
Brad Belushian? Maybe? Belushian? Anyway, you can look it up, The Wax Pack. It's a pretty interesting book, and that's what we're going to talk about. The opening chapter, which you said is arguably your favorite.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and talk a little bit about it. I'm going to look for that Big League Chew.
Well, no, the thing that I was going to discuss about it was just the fact that it kind of, what the book talks about is just random players. There's not exactly a lot. There is some star power to it, but it starts off with a very unassuming player that has an incredible story, which I feel like it sets the table a lot better than going with a big star right off the bat, because this guy's career is so long and it ends in such a good way.
It does, and to be honest, I don't think it even needed the stars in there for me, even though there's a hilarious story where he breaks into the country club to find Cortland Fisk that I couldn't put that chapter down. I read that straight through. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
So there's some good point, and I'm glad it was in there.
Yeah.
And all the stuff with Dwight Gooden was very interesting.
Well, I think that it's good to have some stars in to show how, just because you take your jersey off, they are still, in their mind, they project that player still.
Now, how many of those people, the non-famous ones, did you recall? I knew about 2 of them, but
like 2. The first
Gary,
one,
go ahead.
One definitely, and the catcher.
I know who you're talking about. Lost his name, but yes. But I love how he shows you their card.
Yeah.
Because that's what got me to remember it. 86 Topps is my favorite baseball card set ever. It was the first time that I was collecting baseball cards, and I used to look at those cards all the time. I mean, you just stare there. You've done it as a kid.
When you collect cards, you're messing around with putting stuff in a binder.
But you're looking through that binder, looking at each one of the cards. Yep, looking on the back at stats. Yep. If you're watching them, we did this back in the day. If you're watching it on TV, you'd line up your cards to the batting order and switch them out. And I used to put my cards out like all the players in the outfield, on the carpet, outfield, first, second, third base. And I had the baseball card of who was at bat, and I'd move them to first. They got a single, and so on and so forth by watching the games.
My goodness.
Of course, there was a lot of Braves. I had to put the Braves out all the time because The Braves were the only thing that was playing on
America's
TBS. Yeah, or you could do it with the Cubs too, because WGN would always play the Cubs. So unfortunately, I didn't get to bring out my Mets that often, but and some of those Mets cards were just so precious to me. I mean, still today, just looking at it again, precious stuff. So I don't. We're going to spoil, I guess, a little bit of this, but not all of it, because I just kind of want to go over a light kind of overview here. But I do want to talk about how he came up with a brilliant idea. He's a professor at Berkeley, and he opened up a pack of cards and said, "I'm going to try to interview and talk to these people and see where they're at." What a great idea! And there were.
And this was 20 years after that, because this book is a little dated.
Yes, and this one got, because he's had to find a publisher for so long.
He sat on it.
Yeah, well, it didn't sit on it. He was looking for a publisher. He just couldn't get published. But when he finally did and it came out, he opened a pack, 15 cards. One of them was a checklist.
Right.
And the other 14, he decided to go see. Two stars in there.
Yep.
And then he goes to see, and where they are. One is dead. One is passed, which is kind of wild because thinking about it, you can't go any later than 86 in a way, because I bet there'd be more, not to say that's the benchmark there, but those guys are all older now.
Yeah.
And this was done it was 2016, was this, when he actually went out on the road? I can't remember. He even says that this happened years later.
Yeah, somewhere in that
2017, something like that. But it was a while ago when he did it. So it'd been 30 years plus. So some of these people,
right.
They're in their 60s or they ain't around anymore. Right. So he got just the right era there. Give me some of your thoughts, though, on it. I don't want to...
Well, I guess my biggest takeaway from it was and it's something that we all encounter at some point in your life where you kind of go, okay, well, this is who I'm going to be now. Because I can't
do anything else. I
can't keep that train on the tracks anymore, regardless if it's from physical injuries or age, or you've moved, or you lose like the drive that made you who that you were. And it's interesting hearing those guys find peace with it, or some of them find peace still staying in the game, but not being stars, but just still enjoying the game. The lifestyle, I guess, is another way of putting it. And then other guys that found newfound success, or just found a way to blend back into society and kind of had peace with it. And then some were haunted by it.
Yeah.
Because of whatever reason that might be. Either their body failed them, or they were kind of blackballed out of the game.
Man, yeah. There's some tough stories in there, too.
And the other takeaway for me was, at 45, how glad I am not to be a dad. Because a lot of these guys were just as haunted by their parents' ghost as I am. And it's like, dude, we got to figure this out. We got to do better somehow.
Yeah. And by watching some of this guy's interviews, the author's interviews, he said that one of the things the editors wanted him to take out was his story. He said, well, no, I'm putting that in there to have a common thread instead of just seeing 14 different people and giving a dossier of each one. And that's true.
Yeah. It
builds a overall story arc. And I thought was good, because he said some people I didn't have much to talk about. Others I had 2 chapters, So right. For those who didn't want to talk, or didn't, like Doc Gooden, didn't get a chance, talked about what I did, but then added more about my own personal life to add it. And I thought that flowed really well.
Yeah.
I get what the editor's saying is like, well, no one knows who you are. And why make it all about yourself? Well, we got to have some common thread to tie this together, or he's just doing 14 individual chapters or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't him putting shine on himself.
No, I don't think so either.
It was more giving you an insight into why someone would want to take on such a odd project like this that would not... It's a labor of love versus the paycheck. And how some of their lives, some of their decisions, some of their trauma mimics his own. Yeah.
There's a little bit of that too, and some honesty.
Yeah.
In the book too. He's not trying to make himself feel like, well, I'm the best ever, or I'm the smartest ever. It's nothing like that. It's like, you know what? These guys are haunted by this. Same way I'm afraid of this. So that's, you're seeing things in common, and just speaking your mind, which I think we would say the same thing, meeting these baseball players. who are retired now who love the game. Angry in a way, angry that or uncomfortable they're out because you never want to leave. I can't remember which one it was. Says I just didn't want to leave. I still don't want to leave.
Well, and not to pull wrestling into this because that's not really a sport, but Jim Ross has a famous quote where he said, Dusty Rhodes said something to the effect of never let them take their jersey off your back because you can't put it back on. And that's a lot of it. It's you got to stay in the game. You got to push that grind. And that's why they push through injuries and they play hurt and they come back too quick. And there a lot of it is they'll talk about their careers. And they're like, well, they hung on 2 or 3 more years and they kind of role players or whatever. But because when it's over, it's over. That's not something you just put things back together and you're like. For people, with us that go back to school in their 30s and stuff, it's not like that as an athlete. Your body is not going to just recharge.
And it's not forever either.
No.
Having these Nolan Ryan careers are very rare. 9 years, that's good. You had a good run there.
Yeah,
9 years.
Average.
That's it. That's above average. It's even shorter in the NFL. It's like 5 years, 6 years, something like that. But the thing is, though, that's the only chance you get, and then that part of your life is gone, and there is no going back.
Yeah, I thought that was the most telling part of the book. I think for anybody that's, I know we're a little old for that demographic because we've retired from the young man's life, but it's very much a telltale sign of you better find peace with life or it will eat you alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll talk about the 2 big ones I'll talk about, Cartland Fisk and Doc Gooden. And he was like, a part of me doesn't want to highlight them because what can you say new about these people who have so much? Dwight Gooden has 2 autobiographies on himself or,
right.
3 maybe. I don't know. But, he, it's just like, what else new can he say?
The truth.
So then he focused there. There you go. And focus on Doc Jr., who gave a different perspective and kind of showed, because I didn't realize New Yorkers, I mean, I remember Doc Gooden. I do, but I didn't know he still had that big a fan club. Of course he did. He was with the Yankees after that and kind of had a decent career
at the a little bit of a second run.
Yeah, the second one as popular as his first run, but still he did decent.
Yeah.
And he still has fans, and he still has people, and he still lets them down. And it was just it was a different. He succeeded in writing something different about a character who we thought we'd all know. I mean, everyone knows he had problems and he struggled, even if you didn't read any of those books. Didn't they do a 30 for 30?
Yeah,
Doc and Daryl. Yeah.
That kind of.
Yeah, that kind of tells a lot too.
They were watching everything slowly fall apart all over again.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad. It's sad that there's someone who basically builds a life off of his previous career. That's what he's doing now. He's just signing autographs, making appearances. But yet even that, he can't even let his hardcore fans who want to give him money, he'll let them down.
Well, if you don't ever fix what's broke, it's going
to be true.
And that, like I said, that's to me, that was a lot of the takeaway from the book is that finding peace with being able to put something on the shelf and understand that's where it needs to be. There's one thing to be an timer's game and get together for your class reunion, but you can't go down and run down the football field anymore.
That's true. That's true.
And I think that's a lot of the takeaway for me is it's a buddy aspect of that and just the kinship of that. Anybody that watches the movie Sandlot is going to like that book.
That's true, yeah. His favorite player, he said, was Don Carmen, just because he thought he was just so cool. It's kind of funny. I was going to ask you, my brother used to love Deion James. No name, common. He was always in the commons. Yep, he did. And he was always 5 cents if you needed another, or less, if you needed a card of his.
Right.
But my brother collected tons of Deion James. That was one of his off. And I tried to think, was there a person that I liked that was small town? Not really. Not really. I wanted Chuck Finley's autograph because he's from here.
Correct.
And
he was married to Tawny Katane.
Well, yep. There you go.
the White Snake videos.
The-
And who doesn't like a redhead on a car?
Yep, not Chuck Finley. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, he got over it, I guess.
Yeah.
He can't always play the greatest hits.
But I was wondering, because I kind of looked through all my cards again. I was like, there's not really one person I can say. I was like, yeah, this is the person, because I just, didn't connect. I mean, what am I going to say? Kevin Elster, because I saw him play in Jackson, and he went to the Mets in '86 later on. I guess, maybe. Right. But that's just because he was a hometown hero again.
Sure.
But was there a card like that you just had an odd, like my brother he loved the Braves, but Deion James? That happened to be his favorite one.
I can't say there was anything like that. I mean, I think for me it was, being a Yankees fan, you would always follow odd guys that came through the Yankees, but there was never someone that, like, from another team that I just kind of gravitated to.
So you didn't have one comment. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
But I found it interesting that he did, because it reminded me of my brother.
Yeah, well, he's a pretty quirky dude. This author, he's an interesting cat.
He is interesting. He's
very flawed, and he's very open about
which I thought.
all of that.
Yeah, I found refreshing after we had done so many reviews on autobiographies where people just tried to make them feel like Vince Russo.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just awful. And then Eric Bischoff acting like, hey, look, looking from my perspective, this is all genius. If you look at it from, and then no, you're still a moron.
I think that he was very relatable.
Yeah, he was.
And I think that endeared him to the players that were not stars, because they were like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he didn't just talk about like their highlights. He delved into what kept them motivated and their personal life and that, and how that affected things. And there's so much that we, in any job, the older you get, you realize, hey, what's more important, time and money, and how do I balance that out? And for an athlete, you really can't. You have to play until you can't play anymore, and you're gonna miss some stuff. And then you come home and you may be married to somebody you really don't know, and you've got kids you don't know. And I know it's very enlightening to hear that, because so much of these guys, over half of them, it seemed like, had real issues with their dads.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? How many?
They basically became famous versions of the problem that they grew up with.
That's true. But and the author gives an excellent, I love how he builds these chapters where he gives you the history of, he was just looking back through stories involving this character, whoever what the player was, and gave us this colorful background of like Randy Reddy and stuff. I mean, how would I even know? And he's going bowling with one. He's shooting off fireworks for 4th of July with another. Right. And they're just regular people now. They own a, what was it? A firehouse, a Jersey Mike's. Yeah. It's like, what? But I found that so fascinating. And I envy the dude, because not only did he get to, visit with these people, but he became friends with these people. And I mean, no one's going to blink twice if I say, hey, I got, this no-name baseball player who you've never heard of before on speed dial. Right. No one cares. But you know what? That would mean the world to me. Well, that mean that I made a connection to some of these people who have done something that I have idolized.
Right.
I wanted to be a baseball player.
Sure.
That was the first thing. I wanted to play first base for the Mets.
Right.
What kid didn't back then when baseball was huge?
Right.
And so that you even got to play a season, 3 seasons, 5, whatever it was, hats off to you.
I think that's the hook of it. He goes at it that way. I just find the most fascinating part of it is where they land when they take their jersey off.
Yeah.
Because,
no, that is.
And the way things are is where we all get to a point where we have to change.
Yeah.
These guys really have to change everything.
Some still have issues.
Yeah, it's like PTSD.
Yeah. What'd you think of the last one, the one that passed away, and then his son tells that story, and you're like, whoa, this got real.
Well, it almost sounded like, he talks about getting hit in the mouth, that bean ball, and it basically kind of ruined his career.
Mm-hmm.
And then he talks about, like, he obviously being blackballed out of the game.
Had
which
issues.
Is very true.
Yes.
A lot of athlete. Ken Sago was blackballed.
Right.
I mean, he was still able to produce, and the collusion they talk about, and that's a very overlooked part of the game. People talk about steroids and all this crap, that whatever, and he talks about that we were pressured to take methamphetamines.
Yeah.
But that's being an athlete. Whatever gives you the edge, you're gonna they don't have to pressure you. You pressure yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's always someone younger, faster, and stronger.
Who's ready to take your place in a heartbeat.
Right. It's a pirate ship.
Yep.
So I felt like that the way that he talked about it definitely was interesting, but the way his breakdown was mentally, I don't know if it's from concussions or something, but it was a very odd, the way his dad, where the kid said his dad, he felt like he was killed rather than he died, because the person he died didn't seem like somebody else must have done that.
Yeah.
It's like he just completely unraveled mentally.
Sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
Not to the degree of Chris Benoit, but it reminded me of that.
Oh, that's a good analogy there. Yeah.
This slow
degradation of his mind, of his will, of his
not get out of.
And it's a tragedy, and it's so wild. I can't. I'm not going to, because I'm almost positive that's how he opened up one pack of cards. But it's like it's his writing that turned each one of these into a story.
Right.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
I almost felt like, is he picking these? How could he, just like, I want the ones that are no, he wouldn't do that. But I mean, even the one that's dead, I'd be like, oh, give us fond memories of your dad. I didn't think that was going to be any good, and that was like, boom, one that hit home.
He was selling like the what people would say is maybe like the nastier side of it. I think he gave a realistic account of the lifespan of what it is to be a pro athlete, the ups and the downs, and some of it was how you adjust.
Exactly. Yeah.
The adjustment part to me is pretty fascinating. Like you said, the guys runs Jersey Mike's with his wife. He can't even put his own memorabilia in it because it's a franchise, and
that was great.
Won't let him.
That was great.
Like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I would also say, and I know we're talking about a baseball book here. I would even say this is for non-baseball fans, because it's more about athletes after their prime.
Past the age of 38
would love this, regardless of whether they care about baseball or not.
If it's your looks, if it's your body, if it's your career change, you read this, you go, oh, everybody.
Don't you feel that? Because
Yeah.
the whole time I was reading this, like, this is a baseball book, yeah, but it's about way more than that.
Yeah. Like you said, fishing is not about catching fish.
Yeah. It's finding your way in life once the best days are behind you.
Yeah,
And-
not letting that just ruin you.
And how you handle that, because they all handle it. He was shocked how some people don't watch baseball.
Yeah.
They love baseball, but if they're not playing, they don't want to see them. They don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
That was just so interesting to me.
Yeah, well, they've been at such a high part of the mountain. Why would you go climb a hill after that?
That's true. It's true.
What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point?
What's the point? I've been there.
Right.
I've done that. I know how to hit. I know how to pitch. I know how to field.
Yeah, and especially if you didn't leave with peace of mind that you felt like you left it all out on the field.
And a lot of these, well, some of them did, but some of them didn't.
Most didn't.
Some one quirky injury just put them out forever.
Right, yeah.
And you couldn't even see it coming. One was a bad deal. Going back, or they got a bad rap and they were out like that.
I thought the Gary Templeton story.
That's the one I'm talking about. That was awful.
It was really good, and I think that it was very, very true.
Yeah,
that,
I believe so too.
And there's something about people getting on pro athletes where they think that they can just say things, and I think as a society we've learned that you can't say things without ramifications. You sure as hell can't send a text or an email and leave a paper trail now, because
It'll follow you
you
forever.
will have ramifications. And I think that a lot of people abuse that.
Oh, to the nth degree.
And the fact that he didn't have the backing of this coach, I think, it doesn't make Whitey Herzog seem like the kind of person I would want to work for.
No.
Because he's as much of a pirate as anybody else. He's going to throw their ass off the ship.
Yep. And he wasn't around to defend himself, but yeah, I believe the story too.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. Let me ask you this. While I was reading it, there was, like, in my back of my head, I was going, okay, I know a few people, wax packers, I'd love to meet. You know, I was always a Keith Hernandez fan. I'd love to see Keith Hernandez. Is there anyone from that?
Oh, from collecting
from
cards.
You that you were like,
Don Mattingly.
Don Mattingly would have been a great one too.
Yeah.
Don got away with wearing a mustache on a team that had to be clean shaven.
Well, they allowed mustaches, but he
they did?
have
Okay.
hair controversy when he grew his mullet out.
Oh, that's what it was.
They
That's what it
parodied
was.
on The Simpsons. Yeah.
That's what it was. Don Mattingly. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Another first baseman for a New York team. How about that?
Yeah, in the topic of baseball, but slightly off topic of the book. Have you seen? There's a documentary out. I just saw it a few weeks ago. Facing Nolan.
No, but I've heard about it.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, Nolan Ryan is also someone I'd just love to meet. A buddy of mine who
I wouldn't want to meet Nolan Ryan. He's too intimidating.
probably say he is. He's very intimidating.
It'd be like meeting John Wayne and he just slapped the piss out of me.
And he will admit that when he was playing baseball, he was an SOB. He admits that freely. He said,
I'm sure he's an SOB now.
They asked him, they said, did you throw at people? He went, I told him who was in charge, and basically.
I'm sure he's an SOB at Kroger.
He said, he says now, they say now that, now that no one's wearing a uniform, he likes everyone. But when they had that uniform on, no, they were not his friend.
In the book about how, when players, they weren't buddies. That's a change in the past 20 years. You don't have these team rivalries quite the way that you used to.
You don't. And I'm going to blame? Interleague play.
Well,
American League, National League.
I think that
the focus is all on that now.
Hang on.
Oh, go ahead.
Calm down, Peter Gammon.
Sorry.
I think it goes back to what they were saying is they expanded the game too much. You had
They
too
did.
many guys that were not A-plus level in the game. And I'm not saying they weren't. Look, they can outplay me. I'm just saying, but if you're bringing B-level talent into A-plus talent, it waters everything down.
Yeah.
And that A-plus talent was so competitive all the time that, it gave it was more than just a baseball game, which is probably why fans fell in love with it so much, just because it felt real.
Yeah, definitely some lessons to be learned from the way the game was played. The problem today, they think, is the speed. We got to speed it up somewhere. No, that's not the problem. You got bigger problems than just the timing of a game.
Well, we're all about not spending too much time, and I don't want our podcast to run too long.
Well, we're not running long. Trust me on that. But I was going to ask you, did you tell me? Did you tell me who you wanted to meet again? I'm sorry. Oh, you said Don Mattingly. That's right. Okay. So, anyway, but Facing Nolan is pretty good.
You can tell who's got kids on this conversation.
Well, sorry about that. But, no, Facing Nolan is pretty good. I watched that, I think, one Saturday morning a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, baseball documentary, I'm going to watch it regardless of who it is. Raleigh Fingers. Okay, let's do it, I'm all for it. But I was like, okay, well, I like Nolan Ryan. And I just thought it was done really well. So I don't know if you're like that, because I watched another good documentary. This is years ago, but Knuckleball, I think that's what it's called. It was about
Tim Wakefield.
No, he had already retired. There was only one left, and I don't think there's one now. But he was one.
The Mets.
Yeah, and he won the Cy Young, then got traded to the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I've lost his name, but it's about him and how he's now the last knuckleballer. And will there's someone in the minor leagues who's doing it, but this is why you don't throw the knuckleball. But this is the what's it called, the benefits of throwing knuckleball, because it doesn't
Where
ruin your arm.
Right.
And if you're good, you can go a long way. But the thing is, no one throws the knuckleball anymore.
Right.
So, and you got to be good, because if you're bad, you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
It's got to be just right. So I found it, and all knuckleballers share a kinship, and they all root for each other, and pass that knowledge on to the next person that does it.
Right.
I just found that was interesting too. But okay, we're rambling. We'll stop then. All right. So overall, I can say wax pack, good, worth it.
Yeah, 2 sticks of gum way up.
Ooh, 2 sticks of gum, good one.
Yeah.
All right, folks. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.